Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Tony Jackson. Most of you know me as the Real Money Coach. Listen, it is 8 p.m. on Thursday, and you know what time it is on 8 p.m. Thursday. It's Real Money Coach time. So, listen, whether you are on the East Coast and it's 8 p.m. or it's 5 p.m. on the West Coast, we are glad that you are tuning in. We're glad that you're watching. Please put in the chat where you're watching from. Where are you watching? Where are you located? Where are you located? Listen, I need some folks to be lively tonight. I need good evening, Evelyn. Good to have you here from the Queen. How come I wouldn't? How come I knew you would be first tonight? Right? I just had a feeling that you know our special guest kind of well, so I figured you'd be in the house. So good to have you. Dr. Bonita Harris, thank you for being here from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm looking for my boy. I'm looking for this guy named Chad. Chad, where you at, Chad? We got to talk. We got to talk a little smack tonight. See, Chad is my boy. See, Chad is my other U of M Michigan Wolverine fan that is on Thursday nights most of the time. And see, we got to understand that there's a big game coming up. And our technical director, Chris Jackson II, is listening and running the technology here. See, he's a Michigan State fan, and I'm a Michigan fan. And my good friend, Tony Mitchell, Michelle's husband, is a Michigan State fan. But, you know, we all, it's going to be a big weekend, y'all, for football. Not to get off topic, but it is going to be a big weekend for football. Miss Ruth Bell, thank you for being here again this evening. Glad to have you. Listen, we have a very important topic that we're going to talk about tonight. Really, really important. And honestly, I didn't know much about it. I didn't know much about it, a year ago or 18 months ago until we started this brand called The Real Money Coach. Dr. Bonita Harris, you're right. Michigan is on fire. I'm just not talking much smack. I'm not going to say too much. I'm just saying that it's a big game. I'm just saying there's two undefeated teams in Michigan, 70 miles apart. And I'm just saying that it's going down in East Lansing this weekend. And I ain't going to say no more than that. But believe me, after Saturday, I'm going to be talking smack one way or the other. I'm going to be talking some stuff. I'm just letting, listen. That's what you do when you got your technical director. He gonna throw that old Spartan helmet up there, but that's cool. It's all right. Very important topic tonight. Listen, I really did not understand how important it was, 18 months, 2 years ago, but it's vitally important, you guys. We're going to talk about protecting your intellectual property, and that's going to be our topic tonight. And we got a wonderful guest that's going to be with us, attorney Takora Davis, and she's going to share some information with us. And so we're excited about that. But before we bring her on, we're going to bring my co-host on, my girl, my wife's bestie, our friend from 30 years, Miss Michelle Mitchell. What's happening?
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Michelle, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's cold. It's cold in Charlotte. It's been 60 and raining.
Oh my God. I'm in Texas and it was chilly today. That's
Really?
all I have to.
Really?
Yes.
Even in Texas?
Yes. And I brought summer clothes, not like warm clothes.
Hey, you should have brought the warm clothes.
I know.
Yeah. So tell us, what are you doing in Dallas?
So I've been in Dallas all week this week because I attended a conference for accountants called Scaling New Heights. And the theme of the conference was unstoppable.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
I
I like
like
that
that.
word, unstoppable.
Unstoppable. Yeah.
Unstoppable.
So, just getting some training and being exposed to new things, new softwares. If you guys didn't know, accountants can be pretty techy. And there was a lot of tech
There's
in
a
this.
lot of tech going on.
Yeah. So we were downtown Fort Worth, and it was a good time. I came by myself. I only knew one person here, and I left with like a bunch of friends. So
There you go. There you go.
yeah.
And I think we're going to be like crossing in
We are.
there, right?
We
Because
might be able to see each other at the airport. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know because I'll be coming into Dallas on Sunday morning, and we'll be speaking at our guest last week who was on was David Wren, and he has the Mint Prosperity Mint company where they deal with gold and silver and precious metals. It
Yeah,
was a good show. I
it
mean,
was a good show
honestly,
last week.
I haven't been able to catch up with the guy, but he said, you gonna be here, right? I was like, yeah, we're gonna be there. We're gonna be there and speak to his
My friend
closing.
coming? She coming?
No, nah.
Oh,
So
okay.
not
It's
on
okay.
this one. This was kind of they pay for everything. So
Yeah.
you know how that
Okay.
goes. So
Yeah.
but next weekend we're gonna be in Baltimore for my granddaughter's birthday
Birthday.
party. So that's
Yeah.
coming up. Good
Nice.
evening, Adele. Good to have you. Adele is awesome. So it's good to have you here. And yeah, and I'm flying in, flying out same day. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
even staying overnight. So I'm coming in and out. Hello, Alice Martin. Good to have you with us too. Listen, Michelle, earlier today, this is actually my third type of thing. Earlier today, I was on this group called the Association of Black Estate Planning Professionals.
Mhm. Okay.
And it's interesting that the topic was collaborative legacy planning that bridges the racial wealth gap was the topic of this panel. And
Interesting.
it's interesting. A couple questions like how do you engage, Black clients?
Mhm.
What's your biggest objections from Black clients, and what's
Mhm.
your role as an advisor when it comes
Mhm.
to Black clients? And you're a consultant. And for me, I
Yeah.
think some of it is, just establishing trust because
Yes.
so
Mhm.
often we have been misled, run amok, those
Mhm.
type of things, and we have sometimes trust issues even
Mhm.
within our own community. And so
Right.
once you can break through those trust issues and get to the education piece, I think we can do some good. So I don't know
Yeah.
what's your take on it.
Yeah, that absolutely. It doesn't matter who you're talking to as an advisor, the person you have to establish trust first, you know. And no one will spend money with you until they know you, get to know you, like you, and trust you. They
Right.
will not spend money with you until those three steps happen. And until those three steps happen, you will never get $1 from them.
Yeah. So
So,
and then the question becomes how do you establish that trust?
right. Yeah.
And the thing I talked about is listening.
Mm-hmm.
We have to
Mm-hmm.
listen to our clients. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't have your pre-agenda and all that. You
Yep.
really have to listen and
Mm-hmm.
to what their needs are, what their goals are, and not just listen, but hear them, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
that you can adapt accordingly. So,
Right.
Dr. Jahida Powell, thank you for being with us tonight. Awesome. We just came off of meeting together. And so, like I said, this is my third one this evening. I was at 5 o'clock, and then 7 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock.
Oh
And
my
so
goodness.
we're rolling, man. We enjoy it. Thursday is that kind of day. So,
Yeah.
Michelle, intellectual property.
Man.
Huh?
I need to talk to her.
You need to talk to her. Well, we're gonna talk to her tonight.
Yeah.
I have some more questions for her
Mm-hmm.
that I need to ask. And when I spoke with her earlier today, I was like, I'm gonna save my questions for tonight because I have
Okay.
some questions. I know other people have those questions. And
Mm-hmm.
so listen, I want to encourage everyone who's watching, everyone who's listening. Um, if you have questions in regards to intellectual property, and we'll even
Well,
get into
Tony, maybe you
explaining
should.
what that is. Hmm?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I
Yeah,
was
we'll
just going
even
to say, explain what that is.
yeah, I don't want to explain it because I got an expert in the house that can explain it,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So we're going to talk about what is intellectual property. And then I want you, if you have questions as it relates to intellectual property, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. We're going to try to get to as many of your questions as possible. We're going to leave you here educated. Remember, the real money coach. Real is for relevant, educational, actionable, and life-changing information. So that's what we're doing tonight. We're going to give you that. All right, Michelle, you got your questions ready?
I got my questions ready because,
All right, me too.
yeah.
I got my questions ready. Let me tell you about attorney Takora Davis. She actually founded the Creators Law Firm, and it's described as a boutique of intellectual property and business law firm. It was designed and created to help creative entrepreneurs and small business owners build, grow, and protect their business by providing, listen to this, luxury legal services in the area of contracts,
Ooh.
business, internet, consulting, trademark, and copyright matters. Listen, so there's you go. If you got questions as it relates to contracts, business, internet, consulting, trademark, and copyright matters, we have an expert. She's been featured on VH1, WTBV in Charlotte, Mama Hustle and Company, Sweet Blue Bird Design Company, and a whole host of other things that I didn't even put in this because it was too many. So without any further ado, let's bring Michelle back along with our special guest, attorney Takora Davis.
Hello, everyone.
All right. Listen, she said,
Or,
hello, everyone.
We can have some fun tonight. So I won't be a stuffy lawyer. So
Oh, I know you are. So awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, being a part of the show. Um, and I know people are going to get a lot out of this conversation tonight. I already know the conversation is going to be rich. And, let me do this before, after I do this, I want you to introduce yourself. But I tell you, I saw your social media work and I saw some of the things you did in that creative law firm. So, folks, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm not bringing her on because of what I heard that she can do. She is my own personal intellectual property attorney, right? So I've used her services, and my stuff. They listen. They were fighting the real money coach. They're like, hey, we're the real money. They were fighting the real money coach. So I had to get an attorney that could go in the ring with them and get my stuff done. So that was a process. That was a learning process. And honestly, I'll tell you folks who are listening, I first tried to tackle it on my own. I was like, oh, this copyright thing, I'm intelligent. I can go online. I fill this stuff out. And man, that stuff started coming back from the IPSO and all this stuff. I'm like, what is this? I need help, right? And so Evelyn, who's on my team, one of the agents on my team, was working with Takora and recommended her, and I saw some of her stuff. And so there it was. And we're in that process. And by Christmas, we plan on to have our official Real Money Coach trademark. So y'all, we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate that. That's going to be the Christmas present to the Real Money Coach family. So I done blurted all that out. Tell us about Takora. Tell us who you are. A little bit about you, your family, where you're from. Just tell us a little bit about Attorney Davis.
Sure. Well, I am, I'm the founding attorney, and I like to say the chief esquire officer at the Creators Law Firm. And we have a focus on business and intellectual property legal matters. And we serve legacy-driven entrepreneurs who are pioneers in their industries and thriving in their purpose. Our clients are really next-level men and women in business, and we really serve over 95% African-American women. Honored to do that. I love to say that we are a Black-owned and woman-powered law firm. So by God's grace and His glory, we've been able to create jobs for more women, not just in North Carolina where we are based, but also around the country and world. We help our clients by providing comprehensive, culturally relevant legal services to protect their products, programs, and profits. We leverage systems that help us deliver simple and smart legal solutions to give our clients the protection and legal support they need to grow their business with peace of mind. I am born and raised in Salisbury, North Carolina, the very educated at North Carolina State University. I have a biological sciences degree from North Carolina State. And then I went on and I worked on the Hill for a little bit for Congresswoman Marsha Fudge. And when I was on the Hill in 2010 to 2011, that's where my passion for the law was reignited. And I decided to go to law school. And then I got into Charlotte School of Law and I graduated from Charlotte Law. After that, I got a job as an intellectual property analyst. And that's where I worked with hundreds of inventors. And I really understood the psyche and also what drives creative business owners. And I did that at a healthcare startup here in town. And I did a lot of work on the patent side of intellectual property. So is this invention commercially viable? Is it going to be marketable? Can it even be protected? And then that actually opened up the door in the space for me to eventually open up my law firm after I unfortunately faced some discrimination at a local law firm that I actually used to work for. I thought that was my dream job, but it actually ended up being a nightmare. Although that was a very unfortunate experience, being discriminated against where I worked at, I was actually fired after I had my son, and that was referenced as the reason for letting me go. And the male attorney basically said, "You need to stay home and get over your pregnancy brain." So with my pregnancy brain and all, I decided to launch my own firm, and I realized that I wanted to create a safe place for women and men to work. And so to date, we've been able to do that. I've been able to create jobs and better jobs for women and men, but everybody who works here right now is a woman, but we're so happy to welcome people who have Y chromosomes. Not a problem at all. And yeah, we have grown, and to date, we have served over 800 trademark clients, and my firm has a 98.5% success rate with registrations, and the national average is 41%. I'm also a proud wife. I love my husband. He's just absolutely amazing. And we are the proud parents of two beautiful children. I have a 5-year-old son. So when I see my son growing, I'm often seeing my business growing because he was a baby. The business was a baby. And my daughter, and she's 3 years old. So I'm just delighted to be here. I'm really, really passionate about supporting my community. This is a wonderful thing of what we are building here. Only 5% of attorneys in America are African American or identify as Black, but the type of law that I practice, only 1.7% of attorneys who happen to practice intellectual property law are African American. So that's about 528 people in the United States. But as we see, Black entrepreneurs, specifically Black women entrepreneurs, are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the country. But you don't necessarily have that same selection of attorneys who are practicing law and those who are actually in private practice. I'm happy to see those numbers changing, but that's really a lot of the reason why we do what we do, because we really want to make sure that we are representing people who are a reflection of myself, my community, and making sure whether you have a business or a baby to birth, that this is a great place and a safe space for you to come. So that's more about me, my story, and how I came here, and how I have been able to be honored to do the great work that I've been able to do, and even being able to serve amazing clients like Tony.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. See,
That's
really,
awesome.
this is the thing. I thought I was going to have to spell my name with an I in order to become a client of the creative law firm.
No.
But I mean, everyone has been very professional, and it's been you've made the process in the way that you've gone about explaining it along the way, and then some of the things that just the emails and videos and stuff that you sent along the way. It wasn't just like here and then I'm gonna let you know when it's done. There's been some of that, and I think thank you, Dr. Benita there. She put an eye in there. She's laughing at me. Right? So, and I think some people would probably get frustrated with the process because there is a lot of waiting.
Yes. It's a lot of bureaucratic waiting, and there's really nothing that I can do to speed that up. Is because we're dealing with the government, and that's traditionally how it's been. So whenever you get a trademark, so let's just have a little intellectual property one-on-one, guys. So
Yeah, let's do that.
my job, like I said, when we look at, historically in this country, when we look at intellectual property, it's not something that you can always touch. It's not something you can always feel. And so I think because of that, and because there has not been a great education of our community on what intellectual property is, it's difficult for us to grasp the value of it. And so I want to make sure that tonight you all walk away empowered, because my job is not just to get clients. My job is to educate and empower my community. And that's the reason why you heard Tony reference how we send videos and we educate along the way, because when I did research, a lot of attorneys weren't doing that. They were not passing along that knowledge to the client. They were withholding that. And that's not going to help us as a community move forward. And so if we look even back with the enslavement of our forefathers and foremothers, the enslaved Africans, when they created intellectual property and inventions for the slave owners at the time, they actually would take their intellectual property and monetize it. We saw that with a variety of things. And even when the Emancipation Proclamation came and, they were to be freed, the last thing that the enslaved, the possessors, the slave owners took was the intellectual property of our foremothers and forefathers. So they took the rights to their patents. So they couldn't even go out into the free world and monetize their inventions because they were property at the time. Anything that they created became the property of the master. And then you saw that trickle over into the early 1900s, where, inventors who happen to be Black would create things, and then they weren't able to get they weren't even eligible to have patents. And so you look at the color of the law and how the law was created. The law, we talk about even now, the law being a sword and a shield, it was actually used as a barrier, and it blocked people from being able to create generational wealth. We look at how even the artists at that time, they didn't have great representation. So they didn't understand, oh my gosh, these are my songs, and I want to be able to have the rights to my songs. Or white artists such as Elvis Presley, he would come and he would take the intellectual property of those performers, and now his estate is doing well. He has an entire estate, Graceland, and people can go and they can visit that estate, and it's really being fueled continuously to this day because of the strength of the intellectual property that he was able to create in part on his own, but mainly he was able to steal from Black artists. And so we don't always see that with our artists, especially from that time and that era, that there was these types of monuments there, right? And so my job, again, as an attorney, and thinking of it, y'all, is 1.7%. Like, I'm an attorney who practices intellectual property law. It's only 1.7% of the hundreds of thousands of attorneys who look like me that practice this type of law, right? And so you can begin to see that there's a chasm between the education gap and also the representation gap, right? And so this is why it's really important. So anyway, intellectual property, I'm gonna break it down for you like 4 flat tires. IP, or intellectual property, is anything that you can create. It has to move beyond the ideation phase. You can't just have an idea sitting in your head. A lot of people say, oh my gosh, I have all these ideas, but your ideas are worthless if you don't actually breathe life into them and allow people to be able to experience the thought, experience the idea, experience the service, experience the product. So you have to be able to breathe life into your ideas and don't just let them sit in your head and die, right? So we have to move ourselves from a place of stagnation to a place of production. Okay, so your intellectual property is any type of idea that you are able to put forth into the earth. And then we can put those different ideas, depending on what they are, into different categories. I like to think of intellectual property as this big umbrella that's sitting over my head. I'll compare it to the umbrella of criminal law, because most of us know that. So underneath the umbrella that is called criminal law is someone breaking and entering into someone's home, right? That's clearly a crime. But you know what? So is a speeding ticket. It's just a different type of crime. It's still underneath that umbrella, but it's a different type. There's different types, different categories. So let's move back over to the umbrella of intellectual property, right? Underneath that umbrella, you have different categories or types of intellectual property. First, we'll have patents. A patent is an invention that has some sort of usefulness. This is what we call a utility patent. It needs to have some sort of a function. So your phones that you have thousands of patents and different functions in them, right? So that's what a patent is. And sometimes you can get a design patent. So they may say, hey, I've designed this phone to look this way so I can get protection over the way that it looks. That's a different type of patent. And then finally, you can have plant patents. That's how I was introduced to patent world, because I was a plant pathologist, I was a botanist, and I did a lot of research on tomatoes. But that's another story for another day. All right, so that's the type of patents, right? Then we have copyrights. Copyrights are creative works, so literary or artistic works where they put into a medium that you can experience. So a film that was put into a medium where you go to a movie and you pop the film on, you can experience that. A book that was put into a book, you can read it, you can experience it. Photos, videos, sculptures, design, graphic design, computer coding, and even choreography. So we see a lot of these content creators creating dances. Those are protected by a copyright if they meet certain criteria. Another category is trade secrets. So if you all have secrets within your business, proprietary frameworks that you use for coaching, your email list, if you're a baker, cookbooks and how you put your recipes together, your training manuals, your email templates, your workbooks, your videos, all these videos of podcasts and money coaches doing, all of that type of stuff. In terms of like how he creates that type of thing, if he has a proprietary framework for how he creates it, that's a trade secret. Best example for that is the Coca-Cola formula locked up in the vault in Atlanta. They don't want you to know what it is because that's their trade secret, right? So some intellectual property is a best kept secret, and you want to protect that via non-disclosure agreements, confidentiality agreements. Next, we have personality rights. So that means that that is your right to control your name, your image, your likeness, and monetize it. We see this a lot now with student athletes, with what has happened with the NAACP, and they've been able to shift how those students can actually monetize their images, right? And so there we go. We have that category. And then finally, my beloved trademarks. Trademarks are names, logos, taglines, anything that's going to help people identify your brand and distinguish it from someone else. A trademark is your calling card. It's oftentimes the most valuable piece of intellectual property you have, but it is the least protected. I do not understand. Well, I understand because people don't even realize the value of what they have. If you all look in your companies right now, the value of your company is not the fact that you got a laptop that you're sitting on right now or the phone that you're talking on. It is your intellectual property, hands down. It is your courses, your frameworks, your coaching, your unique methodologies and training. 60 to 80% of your business's value is wrapped up in intellectual property. So those are the different categories, and I wanted to explain them. I get really excited talking about this, as you can tell, but I want to make sure that we know that we're moving and operating in different categories. And you can't come to me and say, I want to patent a name, because patents are for inventions. You can't say you want to copyright a name, because copyright protects the content and the body of the work. A trademark is what you want if you want to have protection over your brand name, your logo, or your tagline. It is going to help people identify your business. Because if I say, oh my gosh, what is that? What's the best podcast you listen to? Where did you get that piece of clothing from? Where did you purchase that purse from? You're going to tell me the brand name. Okay. And you want to make sure you have protection over it. The only way to get full legal rights to your business name is to file a trademark. There's no other way around it.
Wow. That was a lot of great information. I took all kinds of notes because a lot of that we don't hear. We hear the term intellectual property, but we don't really know what it is.
Right.
And so I think, thank you for doing that, because and I think a lot of people, and one of the things that you mentioned I want to just not miss is you talked about it's got to be an idea that's not just in your head.
Yes.
What do they say? The richest place on earth is the cemetery, because you had all these great ideas that never got outside of the mind of that person.
Yeah. And that, I mean, I think, well, all right, so we just don't go here because that just grinds my gears, but I'm a purpose activator. I'm not only a purpose activator, I'm a purpose accelerator, which is probably why I do the work that I do. And so I want people to know that if you have an idea, that oftentimes the idea, when it first drops in your head, that's the most purest time that you can have with your creator. With mine is Jesus, just to clarify. But anybody's
Oh, girl, I'm right. We all right.
okay. But you know, that moment where you're like, the moment, Tony, where you're like, I got the idea to do this whole platform. It's going to be the Real Money Coach, and it's going to be this, and it's going to, like, that was the most purest thing that happened, because you didn't go and tell it to anybody else. So they could put their doubt and their seeds of fear into it. They couldn't sit up here and rip it apart and make it feel less than. They wouldn't make you shrink back, right? And so a lot of times that's what happened. We prematurely share these God-breathed ideas, these amazing ideas that you co-created with your creator.
It's so funny because about 2 weeks ago, I have a few attorney clients, and I reached out to one of them to ask them about trademarks because I need one.
I'm happy to help. But you know, it's a lot of times, like I said, it has to move from more than just an idea, but you actually taking some sort of action to bring it to life.
No.
Well, and I think that was part of the process too, is you know, because there was another like money coach or something out there, and it's like, who started using this name first, and are they the same, and you know, can they be confused and all that kind of stuff. So it's like putting it into action is an important part of the process from what I can see. And
I mean, it's so there's two pathways to getting this type of protection. The first pathway is you say, hey, my business has been up and running for a couple of years. I have sales, I have clients, or if it's a podcast, you publish your first episode, you're getting listeners. So that's one way where you're like, it's in use. And so you can take a path at the trademark office and say, hey, I have evidence. Here's everything that you need. You can see that I've been using this, right? And that's called the use-based path. I don't like how that sounds because it's confusing. So we just say present use, meaning you're using it right now, or today's use, right? The other path that a lot of people don't talk about is what they say intent to use. Again, that's confusing. I don't like how that sounds. So we say future use in my company. So if you have a future use trademark, you're like, hey, Attorney Davis, I have this amazing idea. I want to launch this a year from now, though, and I have the perfect name. So you can go down the intent to use path, or what we call the future use path. And that means we file a trademark application. We say she wants to use, or he wants to use this name in connection with, you know, podcast services, t-shirts. You can put the whole kitchen sink in that. And really with that type of trademark application, that pathway, it reserves the business name for you before anybody else can use it. Because there's really the way that trademark rights vest or attach in this country is if one, somebody starts to use it and they monetize it first, or someone files a trademark application first. So if you file your trademark application before anybody else for a specific name or logo or tagline, and even if you haven't started to use it, you haven't got any products or anything, but you have actually started to use it, you've actually filed the application, and somebody comes around the very next day and they launch the brand in a competitive marketplace, and it's your same name, and they're using it with services that are the same or similar to yours, you can send them a cease and desist because you got your trademark application in before they started using it.
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned cease and desist. So when you have trademarks and you have these things, what's the enforcement? Because okay, I put that TM, you know, buy it or whatever, but what is the recourse and, you know, those type of things if you've trademarked? And I think I love what you talked about too in terms of the copyright, because I think a lot of things that we do, and you know, it could be a PowerPoint presentation. I mean, that should be, that's copyright, right? So, you know, I have done presentations, and some of my agents is on here. I've made them sign a NDA before I even let them have it, right? To show to a client. But what's the enforcement if someone's
Yeah. So the enforcement, there's different vehicles of enforcement. And so the other thing we have to realize is that, your trademark is only as good as your ability to protect it and enforce it. And so you have an obligation and a duty once you secure and register the name to protect it. So there's things that happen though. You have to be really careful, y'all, before you just go out and start sending messages to people, because sometimes you can falsely accuse someone of infringement and you end up finding out that they had prior use and then you have to shut down, or how they're using the name is completely either fair use or they have rights to aspects of your name that you don't necessarily have total rights to. So for example, one of my trademarks is the creator's lawyer. I cannot stop other lawyers from using the word lawyer, right? Because that's a generic word, right? So you have to be mindful of how you try to enforce. So you got to say, okay, how they're using it or whatever they're using it, is this actually legally infringement? So part of enforcement, if it's trademark infringement, it can be sending a cease and desist. Sometimes, y'all, though, you don't even need an attorney. If you send a polite message and say, hey, I have to do this, which is crazy, with another lawyer. And I'm like, she's launching her brand early this year as a trademark lawyer. And then she was calling herself the creator's lawyer. And I'm like, no, ma'am, no, Sam. You can't call yourself that because I have had a federally registered trademark. And so I didn't send a cease and desist to her. I slid in her DMs. I said, hey, sis. Well, I didn't say it like that, but I said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm the owner of the creator's lawyer. I see that you've been using that in your profile as well as a social media hashtag. Please refrain from using my trademark and remove it from your profile because it's infringement. And I'm just letting you know as a courtesy, as a professional courtesy, I'm reaching out to you because I'm sure that you weren't aware. And she apologized. She said, I'm so sorry, and I'm sitting here like, well, how can you call yourself a trademark attorney and you didn't even do your own due diligence to see if the name you're trying to use?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right. Yeah. What's the big deal of this?
Right. Y'all, sometimes a simple message, a kind-hearted message, you can save a lot of money. You don't always need an attorney to kind of step in. Just me sending that message to her, she was able to take care of it. And I encourage my clients to do the same thing. Hey, if you feel like it's infringement and you know it is, like it's the exact same name, if it's the exact same name and they're using the name in connection with the same services or similar services, then it's likely okay. But we got to remember that there's what I like to call brand twins out there. So you can have two businesses that have the exact same name and there's no infringement. So think about Pandora Jewelry and Pandora Music. They're brand twins, or Dove Chocolate and Dove Soap. They're brand twins. And a lot of people, when I start like naming these brand twins off, they're like, that is the same name, but y'all weren't even connecting the two businesses 9 times out of 10 because the products and services are so different. Like now, if people start confusing soap with chocolate, we got some conversations that
it's interesting you said it. I thought about that about Pandora before,
Uh-huh.
and I think Lisa and I went to the Pandora store or something while we were waiting to go to dinner at Cheesecake on date night, but and I was like, man, Pandora Music and Pandora Bracelet, but of course they're two completely opposite industries, two completely opposite businesses.
Different customers, all that stuff. So that's not trademark infringement.
Got it.
Yeah. There's 45 different classes that you can file your trademark in. So like, that's another thing. When you file your trademark, some people come to me and like, I want it in all categories. I want everything covered. I'm like, hold on, ma'am. You're not in the cleaning or textiles industry. You don't need it in that. And so I may be aging myself a little bit, but I compare it to encyclopedias. So, growing up, like in my Meemaw house and my mama house, we had these encyclopedias. And I'm like, Mom, it's the 90s and you got these encyclopedias from 75. It's time to let them go. I like Pluto is not a planet no more, Mama. Like, come on. But you know, when you go to the encyclopedia, you go to volume A and you pull it out, and everything in that volume starts with that letter. Well, similarly, trademarks have their own, you know, process, right? They have their own categories, they have their own volume system. But we don't call it volumes like with an encyclopedia. We call it classes. And they're not by letter, they're by number. And so there's 45 different classes or different categories. And each of those classes will basically house a collection of different products. So, for example, classes 1 through 34 are all products. Classes 35 to 45 are all services. So, this is why you hear some people say a trademark versus a service mark. Y'all, they're the same thing. Even if you have a service trademark, like my trademarks for my law firm are obviously services, legal services, and class 45. That's where legal services are, but we still call it trademarks. But you can do the service mark thing if you want. 45 is legal services. 41 is coaching and consulting, and sometimes some video podcasts or video podcasts. But class 9 is podcast as well, but it's downloadable podcast. Class 9 is a lot of stuff that deals with like mobile applications, software, tech, that type of stuff. Class 14 is jewelry. You know, class 25 is t-shirts. Class 26 is hair extensions and wigs. Class 5 is a lot of dealing with like candles and things like that. Class 3, cosmetics. So there's all these different categories or classes. But it's important for you to know that the more classes you file your trademark in, the higher your fees are, because each class is a separate fee that you have to pay to the government.
Got it. So the government don't get their money. They don't get their money. Look, listen, she made me think about that encyclopedia. How many of y'all had the Black American Encyclopedia set? Come on, put it in the chat box if you had that encyclopedia set. That's where I learned about Martin Luther King in there, right? So, yeah, but that's a great analogy, you know, in terms of the different classes and that type of thing. And like I said, this is, I believe in this. I believe that the Bible tells us there's wisdom in the multitude of counselors. Mm-hmm. And you know, people who are filing their own trademarks and doing some of these type of things, man. I mean, we just don't know what we're doing. And I knew enough that I wanted to protect it, because when we came up with the Real Money Coach, I like, that's hot, right? Yeah. We got to protect that. And so I knew enough to do that, but I didn't know enough to do it all. And I probably could have saved myself a whole lot of time if I would have just went through it. And so that's my recommendation to everyone, is don't try to do it on yourself, but just somebody said, Dr. G said she just got rid of her encyclopedia 5 years ago, right? So yeah, so you know, just protect your intellectual property. And I know, Michelle, you work with a lot of women entrepreneurs. That's your thing as well. And you know, and I know you're big on turning your passion to profit and all those type of things. So talk to me, or talk to Cora. What do you think? What do you see in terms of your clients' needs or questions that you might have?
I have clients. I mean, entrepreneurs are creators. That's who we are. We create things in our own spaces, right? And you know, I have clients that have created, you know, whole video training webinar series. You know, I have clients who've created you know, planners and just their methodology on how they get a transformation for a client, you know. And you're sitting here, Takora, telling me, oh, if you have a framework, then we can trademark that. You know, that's your intellectual property. And I know I'm sitting on intellectual property that I haven't protected. You know?
The other thing too is that intellectual property is just like any other property, like real property, meaning a home, or personal property, like your jewelry. So when you pass on, you can leave your intellectual property to your children, your heirs. The
Right.
only type of intellectual property that will last forever as long as it's used is trademarks.
Mm.
Wow.
It's the only type. Patents have a lifespan of 21 years, utility patents, that
Mhm.
is. Copyright has a lifespan of however long the creator is alive, plus 75 years. But if you continue and your children say, I want to keep the Real Money Coach brand alive, or I want to continue on with this real estate business, or it may not even be your children. You just may want to say, I have an asset that can be acquired. I
Right.
want
You
to
can
have a
sell it.
business
Yeah.
and you can come and you can purchase. I was talking
Mhm.
with my friend about this today. Help my husband get my baby. Started crying. I was like, they mama's ears. But anyway, she'll be fine. Okay, she'll be fine.
I mean, listen. I mean, we ain't got no problem if you need to go check out Baby Girl.
Right.
And we can
I
have a quick conversation while you do that. That's all right.
he's got her. I was like, how fast is he moving?
You better
Right.
call Tyrone.
He got her now. I was like,
And he, by the way, I mean, Tyrone is a really, really nice guy. And I had a chance to be on a Zoom with him. And so really super dude. So
Yeah.
I imagine, I mean, and from what I hear from Evelyn, your family is just a wonderful family. So, kudos to you for, all that you're doing, plus, being a mom and all that kind of stuff. And so, it's a lot of work. I don't know how my wife did it. I mean, we had them 3 babies, and I don't know how she did it, but she did. So that's pretty awesome. Now, what about things like websites? Because we're living in this digital age. I
yeah,
mean, you're talking about everything from um, blockchain technology, blockchain crypto,
yeah.
people owning digital money. And the other thing I was wondering about is, can this intellectual property, like any other property, be put in a trust so that it can stay with your family forever and those type of things? So talk to a little bit about a couple of those issues.
Yeah, that's good. We're in the process of funding our trust now. And so there's different types of vehicles, guys. Like I said, like intellectual property is just like any other property. And so you can take it and you can put it in a trust. And this type of property can be owned by estates and trusts and things like that. And that's completely fine. So, it's just a matter of making sure that when you're funding the trust and you're putting things in place, that you would make sure that there's an assignment on the record that shows the transfer of ownership from either your business or yourself as an individual to the trust. And so when you use a trust, basically you're saying, hey, I want to put my property, whether that be homes or, like I said, intellectual property, cars, all that type of stuff, into the trust. And then the trust itself will have ownership over it. And then you have some contracts in place that are signed that talks about what do you want to happen, after you pass on or after your spouse or whatnot passes, vice versa, with respect to these different things that you happen to own. So it's totally possible. My estate planning attorney, her name is Geneva Vasquez of Estrada Law, and she's licensed in like 11 states. Like, I'm like, girl, how do you like licensed in 10 states? But this is, hey, God bless her. But she's here in Charlotte as well. She's fantastic, and she works with like my financial team and all that type of stuff. So, but ultimately, guys, yes, it's totally something that you can do. I'm gonna tell you right now, that ain't my ministry. Okay, so I don't preach on that platform, but I know enough to know that I need to be protected. And for me, there's a there's a quote that they taught us in law school, and it says, "He who is his own lawyer is a fool." So I knew I not be foolish and get attorneys to also represent me. So I have, my estate planning attorney, and I also have an ethics attorney, actually two, for my law firm, to make sure that as we're moving and operating, especially within the online realm, that we are being compliant with laws and making sure my contracts are tight and things like that. Because, I had to ask myself the question. I said, Takora, you are protecting everybody else's business, but
Mhm.
who's who's protecting you, who's watching your back, you know? And so who's malpractice insurance? Can you say, hey, you told me that wrong, so we're gonna fall back on your malpractice. So yeah, so you can totally do it, guys. And if you need more information about that, I'm happy to share my resources with you as well.
So let's focus in on that virtual world. So like I mentioned, blockchain, people who own cryptocurrencies, and even passwords and websites. So where does those things fall? Do they fall in under the umbrella of intellectual property, or how does that work?
Well, I think it's certainly an innovation, and depending upon the type of aspects of the cryptocurrencies and things like that, it definitely can be protected with intellectual property. Like, for example, if you have some software that is being used to create these things, it can either be patented or copyrighted. The thing, though, about patents and copyrights, though, is that all this is public record. So if you disclose certain aspects of your inventions, then some people can go and just recreate it if they're savvy enough. So that's why some people will say, I'm not going to put this in a vehicle like this. I'm going to make it a trade secret.
Got it.
So when you have a trade secret and you protect it that way, what ends up happening is you have people sign really ironclad contracts. And if they breach that contract, heavy fees are levied against them, because the whole purpose of a trade secret is to keep it a secret. And if someone goes and they're sharing that, there should be hefty consequences, largely financial, for those types of breach of contract issues. And so again, yeah, it's certainly possible. It just depends on, one, the intention behind the party, how they want to protect it, what is their overall goal. And because some people will create intellectual property for the whole purpose of licensing it. And so that's another conversation that we can certainly have. But a license basically is like, how your neighbor come over and you're like, yeah, you can borrow my lawnmower until tomorrow, you bring it back. That's what a license is. I'm gonna let you borrow my intellectual property, but you need to bring it back in good shape after a certain amount of time.
And of course, I'm gonna charge you for this license.
Right.
I'm gonna charge you for the license. I ain't gonna let you just walk away with it. There's gonna be a charge for the license.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so, let's just say I'll just do a little, and I'm not aware if you're doing this or not, but I'm giving you an idea. You can basically charge people to use the Real Money Coach intellectual property, the trademark, as a license. Because if people are saying, I want to be a certified Real Money Coach, and you take them through a training program, not only do they pay for the training program, but then they'll pay an annual license year after year to continue to display the logo on their website, because this logo should denote to consumers that this is a valuable brand. They're training your methodologies, they're using your presentations, all this type of stuff, and you'll likely be training them year after year. Not sure if you've thought about that, but
well, I have.
But see, that's how, this is the value of intellectual property, right? And so when you have people actually paying for use of your marks or use of your materials, that actually shows that you can say, I have a proof, this is proven that it's valuable because other people want it. Like, for example, what I'm going to do is my clients keep telling me this because they love the process that I've created when they come through my firm. And I've had clients who've hired other attorneys, and then they come and they have the experience at the Creators Law Firm. They're like, okay, this was like night and day. Like, the emails that you sent us, the updates, how well informed it was. Like, this is blowing my mind. And they're like, you need to train these other attorneys because they don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah. And so I was like, you know what? I'll just create a training program for other attorneys. And I don't know what I'm going to call it. But if you see it, especially knowing, guys, like I said, there's 1.7% of those out here. Then if there was a way that people could know, oh, wow, you've been through this training program. I know I'm going to get this type of experience with you as my attorney. And I see this badge on your website, or I see this, whatever it is, I will know that you can be trusted. Or it's another factor that I can use to see whether or not it's someone that I can trust, because I know I'm not going to have the same experience that I've had with all these other law firms.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah,
Which is a really good idea that I did today.
what I want
That's
you to
a
do,
really good idea, Tickler.
while Michelle is formulating her question, because her husband put it down and told you so, right?
I
So
know,
while
right?
she's formulating her question for you, if you could put into the private chat your contact information so that Chris can then take that and put it in the chat so everyone can see it. And you can
Yes.
tell us what that information is, how to contact the creators law firm. And I know I want for you to just spend just a quick second, but I don't want to hog the time. I want Michelle to be able to ask a question if she has it. But I know you do more than this. I mean, there's some other marketing stuff. I don't. Is it candy or sweets or there's something there? There's a lot of other things that you do. If maybe you just take a few minutes to tell us some of the other things that you are involved in.
Of
Business.
course. Of course. So I'm going to do that right now. So I know what you're talking about. I stopped that one. But what's really cool is so this is what I'm doing, guys. The other thing that I need to tell you all about is my new initiative. It's called Protect Your Smarts. I'm actually opening up the doors tomorrow. And so my heart's desire, as I've been lawyering and being in the online space for the past 5 years, is I'm so big on educating people. I want to empower people, not just with legal knowledge, but business knowledge. Like, it takes a lot of work to build a sustainable company. Um, lawyers are we are not always trained in how to run businesses, and I was not that way when I started. I had zero business experience, and so over these past 5 years, I've been able to build a seven-figure company. I've been able to hire. I've been able to create jobs. I've been able to create systems, processes, procedures. I've been able to really put my stamp in the marketplace as a very trusted place to go to, and that's why people pay us premium. So I'm going to let you know right now, I'm not going to say I'm not cheap, but I'm definitely well worth it for the time that we put into it and the value and the care that we take with our clients. But year after year, after speaking with hundreds of people, and I was only able to serve a certain type of population, meaning people who had a certain amount of money either to spare or to invest or to sow. And then I felt like there's so many other people who still need my help, but because I can't give pro bono services to everybody because I got bills to pay and these student loans are real. Um, so I said, what can I create? And so what I decided to do was to create the Protect Your Smarts Club. And we help you protect your smarts is actually my business's tagline. And I said, how can I help other people protect their smarts? And so if you visit protectyoursmarts.com, you can actually sign up on our wait list. But what I'm doing is a membership community for Black women founders, as well as their supporters, to show you how to really move and operate to have not only really strong legal systems in your business, but what does it look like when it comes to your lifestyle and your leadership style? What does it look like to lead a team? Like, what do we need to be aware of as it relates to maybe SWOT analysis or forecasting? What does it look like when we're pursuing business opportunities such as grants? We need to watch out for this PayPal capital and this Stripe capital because it's not a game, right? There's other things that we can do as entrepreneurs, and I don't think that I wanted to stop contributing to the haves and the have-nots. I wanted to make sure that I had this safe place for, like I said, Black women founders and their supporters to come and get valuable, like time-rich tools so that they can be a CEO and really not, really focus. And this is what one of my clients said. He said, you can't be the CEO because you're too busy being a secretary. So, which is true. And so the membership, when it opens up tomorrow, it's $99 a quarter or $350 for the entire year. And so what's nice about that is I wanted to say, okay, how can it be affordable? And so what's cool about anything that you do in terms of investing in a lawyer or investing in business education, those are all tax deductible. So when you invest in that in your business, make sure that you tell your accountant that, hey, this should be able to reduce my taxable income because it's a business expense. Not giving tax advice, but that's just what it is. And so that's something else. And what's also cool about that, we're going to make sure you have access to some contract templates that you can actually take and use in your business. There's going to be some other courses and workshops that, I do as well. And so that's really my passion project. I've been trying to like open the doors for this for like 2 years, and I wanted to do it when, in 2019, but I experienced the death of my father, and, it kind of rerouted me, but now I'm back on track and just really able to go and really, I kind of left that project limping, and now I'm coming back leaping. So I'm really excited to be able to offer that and to provide greater support and coaching and tools and resources to my community and my community supporters so that we can all move forward to a greater future.
That is awesome. And actually that's initially what I was trying to do is get into, and I don't know if it was Protect Your Smarts. Is that the same name that you always?
It used to be something like Business Bakery, so that's probably what
something like that. Yeah. And that's initially what I was trying to do. And then, I went off on my own. But Michelle, I mean, based on what she just said, I mean, I'm gonna ask you you can ask the last question, comment, or whatever you want to say to Attorney Davis, and then I'll close the show out.
Awesome. Well, Takora, like, you're speaking my language. So not only are you I'm probably your ideal client, but I have ideal clients that need you as well.
I love it.
So I can maybe see something brewing in the future, but
referral fee. What's the referral fee?
Tony, get off the screen. We talk.
Right. We need to do lady business.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious, because I do have clients that are creators, and they're creating things, and some of them, as far as I know, there's only one that has a trademark on their program, but this is the space in which I operate in, and I know you weren't giving accounting advice, but I'm an accountant, but I'm not your accountant, but I'm just saying it is tax deductible,
right,
in your business. So yeah. So thank you for everything you shared with us tonight, because it's educational. And like I said, about 2 weeks ago, I reached out to one of my attorney clients about trademarks, which is crazy. I'm like, okay, I have these things that I've created, but they're not protected, but they're out there in the world. So yeah.
So
we should definitely connect, Michelle.
I think this has been an awesome educational night for me.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I've been learning a lot in this process. So we thank you for, taking out of your time to come. I mean, you got the babies and all that. So we appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And everyone, the contact information is in the chat, phone number, Instagram, all those things are there. So reach out and utilize the services. And so, and I think that protectyoursmarts.com, I think that's huge. And again, she's $99 a quarter, $99 a quarter. I think that's awesome. And so I want to thank also Michelle, and I want to thank Attorney Takora Davis for being with us and sharing the information. And I see from the chat, Alice Martin said, this is great information. I'm passing it on to her niece. Shanna Johnson Price said this was good. She loves Takora Davis. We got some other folks that made some comments here. Ms. Collins said that your process is amazing. And so a lot of great feedback. I'm really proud of the show tonight, because we brought what we say we're going to bring, and that's information. And we do that every week. Do it every week. And God continues to bless us. We say amazing guests. I can't even take credit for it. I don't know how God pulls it all together, but he does each and every week. And I thank you all for being here and being a part of it. Just a couple announcements. Remember tomorrow that your boy, the Real Money Coach, is now on iHeartRadio every Friday at 5 p.m. go to iHeartRadio, download the app, search for WDRB at 5 o'clock, and you can hear the Real Money Coach live on iHeartRadio. And then also tomorrow, we are going to, on iHeartRadio, the Real Money Coach show, I am going to be playing some sound bites from the interview with Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, the author of Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. Many of you know that book. Many of you seen him when he was on our show. It's one of the interviews that I went back and listened to a couple times. And so we're going to be sharing some sound bites from that, as well as sharing some other information that we call financial news that you can use, as well. Of course, I'm going to give a little bit of financial education. So thank you for supporting the show. This will be session 2, episode 2. So make sure you share that 5 p.m. On iHeartRadio. You can also get it. I sent emails to many of you. You got those emails. You can go directly online, listen to it live. And then on the 9th, we will be with our friends from the Black Couples Getaway. We'll be doing a retirement workshop. Is wealthy or broke? How will you retire? Wealthy or broke? How you will retire? And so we did the one a few weeks ago that was GoFundMe Ain't Life Insurance. So listen, if you're out there and you need those services, right? You need a second opinion on the retirement. You need to know if you got the right type of life insurance and all those type of things. The appointment is free. Just go to TonyJacksonAppointment.com. Get yourself on my calendar. Myself and my team will work with you, and do it right away. Take action on it, because my calendar's tending to fill up pretty quickly now. So make sure you get on my calendar. Let's have a conversation. It all starts with a conversation. And I won't even copyright the conversation. We will just have a conversation. It'll just be you and I. I won't even copyright the conversation. But all jokes aside, come make an appointment. Let's talk about it. And so you have enjoyed tonight another episode of the Real Money Coach Facebook Live, also on YouTube. Thank you. Be safe, and God bless you.